Bonjour. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Julie Zerwitz. I'm the Member of Parliament for Davenport and Chair of Toronto Caucus, and it's my absolute pleasure to be here with you today. Mon nom est Julie Zerwitz et je suis la députée de Davenport. Je suis heureuse d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. I would like to start by acknowledging that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Today, the Honourable Gary Anandasangaree, Minister of Public Safety, along with Chief Myron Demkiw of the Toronto Police Service, will speak to the recent introduction of Bill C-22, an act respecting lawful access, which supports law enforcement agencies and the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, or CSIS, with new tools to investigate serious threats, disrupt organized crime, and protect our communities. To give you an idea of how today's event will unfold, Chief Demkiw will begin by saying a few words off the top to set the frame for how law enforcement sees the need for lawful access. After that, Minister Anandasangaree will deliver remarks, followed by a brief question and answer session. Allons-y, let's get started. I now invite Chief Demkiw to speak. J'invite maintenant Chief Demkiw à prendre la parole.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Toronto Police Headquarters, and thank you for being here alongside some of your colleagues and fellow parliamentarians from Toronto. It is a pleasure to host you and Minister of Public Safety, Gary Anandasangaree, to discuss Bill C-22 today. In many ways, new technology and new ways of communicating have made lives easier, but they also made it easier for criminals to plan their activities and avoid justice. We are seeing bad actors use digital tools for all kinds of crime, including drug trafficking, extortion, child pornography, hate crime, extremism, and more. As the world evolves, law enforcement and the justice system must keep pace. The policing community, including the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police and the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, have been advocating for lawful access for many years. Take, for example, the issue of confirming which telecommunication service provider has information that will assist in an investigation. Presently, this process is time-consuming and potentially leads to the loss of evidence. This bill will streamline this process and allow police to advance investigations in a timely manner. With additional tools, our officers will be able to move investigations forward more quickly, hold offenders accountable, and, importantly, prevent harm. Some of these tools are already available in other peer countries like the United States and the United Kingdom. This matters to us as we do our jobs, and it matters to victims. Our role in many cases is to bring offenders to justice and provide a voice for victims who have experienced some of the most difficult of circumstances. With legal mechanisms that allow us to access the necessary information with less delay, public safety is better achieved. With reforms to lawful access, the federal government is supporting our efforts to keep our communities safe. So again, I want to thank the Minister of Public Safety and the federal government for continuing to work with law enforcement as partners. This is great progress. It's a pleasure to see you all here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. I would now like to invite Minister Anandasangaree to the microphone.
Thank you very much, Julie. Julie Zerwitz is the chair of the 416 caucus, and I want to just thank you for your incredible advocacy, and particularly around the issues around public safety. You've been a great champion bringing together law enforcement as well as our government on the necessary tools that law enforcement need to do their job. And I'm also honored to be with Maggie Chi, who's the MP for Don Valley North, and who is one of our latest additions to our caucus members. Let me just thank Chief Demkiw. Chief, you were at the announcement in Ottawa last week, and from the time I first met with you and your team, what you've been asking for from the federal government is partnership, and is for us to listen to you and to your colleagues on how to best protect Canadians. And one of the tools that law enforcement leaders across Canada, and particularly the Toronto Police Service and the Toronto Police Association, have been asking for is lawful access as a tool that will enable them to ensure better public safety. We know that over the last 3 decades, law enforcement has been hamstrung in their ability to investigate, as we know that technology has evolved. This is no longer the time when we are carrying pagers or even antiquated cell phones. We are in an era where we have smartphones. With our phones, we have so much information that's available to us. Every desktop computer and every technology out there have significant abilities, not just to communicate, but also to deter those who use crime as a tool to be able to conceal information that will be critically important for law enforcement. Our laws are stuck in a century while technology has essentially moved forward. Right now, the criminals are profiting from these gaps in law enforcement. They use many of the same digital tools that are in our pockets or on our desk, but they use them for money laundering, for online sexual abuse, extortion, fraud, and human trafficking. And the criminals are organized, often across borders or continents. Their crimes are transnational in nature. The tools we have to fight them are inadequate to the task at hand. That is why last week, our government introduced Bill C-22, the Lawful Access Act. C-22 creates the legal framework for a modernized lawful access regime in Canada, something that law enforcement and our security services have been asking for decades. This bill is informed by the views of stakeholders and parliamentarians who voiced serious concerns with the former bill C-2. We listened to what they said, and this new legislation, C-22, balances the needs of law enforcement with privacy rights of Canadians. I want to be very clear about what C-22 is not. It is not about the surveillance of honest, hardworking Canadians going on about their daily lives. It is, however, about keeping Canadians safe in the online space. It ensures that law enforcement can obtain timely, lawfully authorized communications or information when they need it, and only from select electronic service providers. It brings our laws in line with the Supreme Court rulings to make clear that law enforcement and CSIS can receive tips, ask for information to be provided voluntarily, or use publicly available information to investigate crime and threats to our security. In these cases, a warrant will not be necessary. So Bill C-22 is a package of targeted reforms that tackles the world as it is, not as it was. Canada remains the only Five Eyes G7 country not to have a proper lawful access regime. We're not looking for sneaky ways to surveil Canadians. We are doing our part to combat bad actors in both the physical and digital worlds. And I want to, in closing, thank the Toronto Police Services, Chief Demkiw, for your leadership, as well as the work of many law enforcement leaders across Canada, including the Canadian Association and the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police. Thank you. Merci.
The speakers will now take questions from the media. We will begin with the topic of the media conference today. If time permits, we will then take other questions.
Please go ahead. Oh, I have a question for you, Chief. I'm wondering, I know you guys had a similar press conference in Mississauga. There was a lot of talk about extortion that really impacted the community there. I'm wondering what's on top of mind for you in Toronto. What's the issue that you're thinking first here in this city that this will really help you guys address?
That's a great question. Listen, organized crime and the impact and challenges investigating some of the organized criminality that we are facing certainly is very much top of mind, as well as extremism and hate that we are seeing, and the need for us to advance those investigations in a timely way, and in an era of enhanced digital capacity that we all benefit from in many ways, but the bad actors, as the minister said, use that technology, and we need to be able to have the tools necessary to address that.
I do have two questions for the minister that are unrelated to this announcement, but appreciate it. These are just on behalf of my colleagues. First, in Ottawa, the Supreme Court agreed to hear challenges to your government's firearm ban. My colleagues are wondering what's your reaction or your concern for what this could mean for the future of gun control policy.
Look, the Supreme Court has given leave for a hearing on elements of Bill C-21 and the regulations there too. So we look forward to defending our position at the Supreme Court. Canada is a rule of law country. We are bound by the decisions of the court, and we look forward to robustly defending the government's position, which we're very confident will be in our favor.
Just another question, unrelated also on behalf of my colleague. CBC News has learned that a Toronto-based asylum seeker who's been in Canada for 16 years after arriving on the MV Sunsea is facing deportation. We understand you advocated for hundreds of occupants of that ship when they were detained on arrival in Canada at that time. Why have you changed your stance on this issue as the minister who's now overseeing these deportations?
Well, removals are done independently by the Canada Border Service Agency, and they go through a robust set of guidelines, and it is an independent decision of the Canada Border Service Agency, and it's not one that is impacted by the minister.
I have a question for the chief. It's unrelated, but Nahar Hassan, the defense lawyer for Umar Zamir, had a press conference today, as I'm sure you're aware. One of the things he's calling for is a public inquiry, not only into the conduct of the officers, but also into the handling of this OPP investigation. What's your response? Should we be open to a public inquiry?
Well, listen, I think in my role as the chief of police, that's not a decision for me to make. So we'll see how that unfolds.
So asking Chief for all of the communication records between Toronto Police, their officers, the union, and the OPP, and specifically the Reconstructionists, to be made public. Is that something that you would be willing to do?
Well, that's in the hands of the OPP, and I think, appropriately, there'll be a discussion with the OPP.
Would you urge the OPP to speak publicly about their findings? They haven't been available to take questions, but would you want them to speak so they can stand behind what they...
As I said, I think the appropriate people to speak to on this would be the OPP.
Would you be willing, Chief, if the OPP was willing, would you be willing to provide all of that information?
To complete transparency from day one. And in fact, the day after the comments that were made that led to this particular criminal investigation that we reported on this week, I committed to transparency, and I remain committed to that.
Hassan also said that the reconstructions for the OPP didn't release his full report in the report that was released. Would you call on the OPP to release that full report so we could have complete transparency and see?
I don't really want to comment, having not watched that news conference in its totality. So I think, again, that's something for the OPP to be asked, and we'll see in due course how that unfolds.
To avoid this kind of scenario from happening in the future, God forbid, one of your officers dies in a line of duty, would you be open or committed to allowing another police service to investigate from start to finish?
Again, this an incredible amount of speculation and kind of imagining things happening. I think these things unfold in dynamic ways in real time, and we certainly, as an organization, continue to do everything we can to advance our abilities to carry out our duties in a way that are trusted and supported in our community. So I think on a case-by-case basis, we examine these kinds of things. And I think it's also important to recognize in Ontario, under today's regulatory framework of the Community Safety and Policing Act, there are provisions around conflict of interest and things around that are spoken to in the legislation. So that's something that we'll look at on a case-by-case basis based on the facts that present themselves when they do.
Or if you wanted to go under the same scrutiny of a judicial process, those OPP reconstructionist findings, wouldn't you want them to go through the same, scrutiny that the other two experts had to go through with their?
Listen, I think what I'd encourage everybody is to read the mandate of the investigation. We had allegations that our officers faced, and I called for an independent review of the comments that were made at that time, which led to an independent criminal investigation. And the findings of that criminal investigation were focused on whether our officers, the allegations they faced, whether there was evidence to substantiate those allegations. And that's what the report was focused on. It was focused specifically on reporting the investigation, the criminal investigation that was done independently around the comments about our officers.
The report also, it really kind of throws your own accident reconstructionist under the bus. I mean, it dismisses his work. I mean, do you support that accident reconstructionist that works for Toronto Police? Do you support him? Do you feel like his work is being tarnished by this report?
Well, again, I'm not going to comment on that. The report was a report around the independent criminal investigation into allegations that were made in a courtroom. And that's what the report was about, and that's what the report speaks to, and that's what we disclosed and are committed to being transparent about.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for attending today.